in 1997, I decided to stop teaching for a while. I was a special ed teacher for 12 years, and I went into social work and got a second master's. My first assignment was to work in a prison, and I was assigned to work in the unit for criminally mentally insane, but he wasn't there. But at that time, he was the legal representative for people who were incarcerated who'd gotten write-ups or like tickets. And so at one point, I was invited to sit in a group that Andy was a co-facilitator of in order to give the counselor legitimacy. And I had, after being there a little while, I asked the counselor if I could bring in a Deepak Chopra cake. And he said, oh yeah, that'd be good, let's mix it up a little bit. And so I brought this tape in, and now before I started teaching, and before I started this program, I'd sworn off men and said, I'm just going to get my act together, I'm going to get my career going. Wasn't dating. I look over and I see this guy, him, quoting Rumi. Now Deepak Chopra's having to read it from a script, and Andy's got it in his head. And I'm going, wow, some lady's going to be really lucky to get him. But I thought he was like 10 years younger than me, so it wasn't me. So I was wrong. So fast forward, I went back to teaching eventually, and last year I retired from teaching. I had always kept it a secret from the schools that I was involved with someone who'd been incarcerated. Now, during the fast forward, we had to sue in federal court to get married. He had a parole date when I met him, and they took it away. We sentenced him to life without parole. We had to fight that in court, and it took 6 or 7 years to go through that, and so finally he got out. And so I didn't tell people at school about that part of my life. And the last day before that I had children, because I knew I was retiring, I told my kids, I said, you know what? Y'all need to do the right thing, make good decisions. I said, I know people who've been in prison for years, they started because they made bad decisions when they were in 5th grade, like you. And I said, even my husband made bad choices when he was in 5th grade, and he went to prison. And instantly, about half my kids, just like popcorn, started going, my dad's been in prison, my mom was in prison 3 times. And I didn't know half my kids had parents who had been incarcerated. All year long, they've been fighting with each other. If they had known they had that in common, it would have developed community in the class. I didn't know they had that in common, because we are not addressing the needs of kids who have parents who are incarcerated. And so, swinging over to Andy.
If y'all don't mind, I'm going to stand up. I was sitting in an 8x10 for 27 years. I like to stretch, move around a little bit. Feels good to be out, though, I'll tell you that. One of the things that struck me when I got out of prison was the fast pace. When I went in 1978, there was a new invention called a microwave oven. And when I came out, I don't even know how to explain it other than to say there was just this new way of connecting to the world. And I had to learn this slowly over time, and I did, and I'm glad I did, because I learned that technology, even though it's this huge, big thing that connects everybody in the world is already connected by story. Everybody has a story to tell, and I would venture to say that any person out there has a story that's as interesting or more interesting than my own. People, they hear about me spending 27 years in prison, and some people are kind of wild by that, but you know, I'm wild by people that finish school. I'm wild by people that have careers and raise families. I'm the 3rd generation of a family that was decimated by incarceration. And drugs and thievery and any kind of mayhem you want to talk about. My family was involved in it, and like a kid that might follow his parent into law school, I followed mine into, robbing stuff. So I'm not an angel. I didn't get sent to prison for 27 years for going to church. I went there because I was a bad person. Okay, let's be clear. I was a bad person. And with that said, you know, a lot of people that are classified as bad people, you know, they really, truly have some kind of emotional or borderline mental thing going on with them. And I certainly had that going on because, you know, I think a criminal act is a cry for help. I think it's a situation that ought to be handled by mental health professionals. But with that said, that's not going to happen anytime soon. We love this 19th century prison type of system we have. Until we fall out of love with it, a lot of that's not going to change. But change comes in numbers, people. And we have 65 million Americans who are disenfranchised. A lot of them can't vote. And they're walking the streets among you. I venture to say there's some sitting next to you out here, and I'm not going to out any of you. So don't worry about it. It's kind of like being gay. Keep it to yourself if you want to, or you can have a parade. You know, do your thing. But my point is, with 65 million Americans, how many people are in marketing out there? A bunch of you, right? Start thinking about these guys and gals. There's 65 million of them. And I tell you something else too. They're starving for someone to pay attention to them. They want the help. They want the jobs. They don't want to go back to those prison cells. But that's not what you're going to hear on your news media shows. You're going to hear all this other stuff. Oh, they're just that way. Well, they're not just that way. They're kind of edged that way because they can't get jobs. Who do you think in this economy right now is at the back end trying to get in to get a job? It's people with felony records. I mean, you get on a job search, the first thing you see is, we do background checks. Okay, you're out the gate. Suffice it to say, we're trying to reach 65 million people in America that have felonies to get involved and to try to help us keep kids out of prison. But we don't just want those 65. We want everybody to get engaged. Come to IamConvicted.com. Tell us what you are convicted of. Everybody has a conviction. Everybody has something that they want to give to their communities. And I'm telling you, there's nothing I can think of better than changing somebody from a bad person to a good person. Because when I had my epiphany and made my mind up on the yard one day that I'm opting out and I will commit no more violence from this day forward, I've stuck with that, and it's the only thing in my life that I'm proud of. Except for these people behind me here, like the Design-a-thon people, these are all volunteers that came out of the woodwork to help us do this thing. Brett, Gio, Jeff Pulver, all these people are volunteers that said, look, we gotta make a movement. You got children that are being groomed right now for prison. We can do better than that, people. We can do better. And we got 46 seconds left, and I promise them we're going to get out early.
So we'd like to invite you to go to IamConvicted.com.
Any questions? We got 37 seconds. Any questions? Anybody?
You don't have time to answer questions.
We got a question right
Is there a
here.
book about, are you creating a book? Or?
That's what I Am Convicted is. It started as a book and it still will be a book, so that I want to make that clear. But we're using the blog as a process of actually creating something that's like a community publishing experience instead of just self-publishing. So that's what we're aiming for. But we're also aiming for conversation. We appreciate advice, feedback. You know, we're not looking to necessarily blaze our own path and say this is the only way to do this. We're looking to do this, but also gain community feedback so that we can hopefully build something that's bigger than us. And so that's really the larger picture that we're looking at.
And we want everybody to add their story. You don't have to be a convict to be convicted of something. Okay? I mean, I'm positive, all you guys out there and gals, y'all have convictions.
Yeah.
What are you convicted of? And we'd like for you to add that to the narrative. Thank you very much.
So come to socialsculptures.com, to IamConvicted or youthturn.org.
Later, guys.
Thank you.